Junkie Nation, what's going on? Gorgeous George and Goes checking in here. We got Juicy J, Julian Erosa with us. He's got a fight coming up at UFC 314 in Miami, Florida. I've been telling you, this card is deep. Julian's going to be facing Darren Elkins. Julian, man, you've been part of some good cards, but you got to admit, this one's popping, isn't it? There's just great matchups up and down.
Oh yeah, man. This the card is stacked. It's in a beautiful place, Miami. Never been to Florida, and hardly ever been on the east side. So it's going to be nice just to explore, the area around there as well. But like I said, the card is stacked from top to bottom, and it's just nice to be. You feel appreciated when you get put on these big cards.
That said, I love your fighting style. It's always a slobber knocker. I mean, no matter what, someone's getting finished. Most of the time, it's you putting someone to sleep or whatever. But Darren Elkins, much respect to the guy. I'm not trying to put him down or anything. He's got a gritty style, a grimy
Oh yeah.
style. And so maybe this one could also be a slower fight than usual. Have you kind of imported some wrestlers to just mimic him? Because he doesn't stray too much, and he's had some success with his game plans.
Yeah, I think with Darren Elkins, his game plan is pretty easy to understand and to see, but he's really good at it. And you never know how good he is going to be at it until you're in there with him. But I train at Extreme Couture with some of the best in the world on a daily basis. So, regardless if it's the striking, the grappling, or the wrestling, we have everybody in the gym that's good at everything. So, I'm not necessarily specifically bringing in wrestlers to try to mimic him. It's more about just the body types, and obviously I'm not going to be sparring guys that are bigger than me. I'm going to be a bit bigger than a guy like Darren Elkins, but I train with the guys like Dan Ige. Dan Ige's sizable compared to a guy like Darren Elkins, so I get really good looks from other guys in the gym that's not specifically wrestling based, but I think that's the best way to go, just to be aware and ready for everything. The worst thing you could do is over prepare for somebody's specialties, and then you go in there and the guy just completely switches the game plan up. Although I don't think Darren Elkins is going to do that. I think I'm prepared everywhere this fight goes.
Yeah, that's for sure. I don't think he's going to switch things up. And again, I have a lot of respect for him. He's 40 now. I'm a fan
Yeah.
of his as well. Him, Jim Miller, that longevity. It seems like they have their legion of fans because they've been
Yeah.
able to go past a certain threshold of when fighters start to kind of decline a little bit. They're still chugging along. I bet you deep down you might even be a fan. Um, how about the fact that he's over at Team Alpha Male? Did you have a lot of contact with him throughout the season of after your season of The Ultimate Fighter? And would they have really been able to gain much from that time that they coached you that can be passed on to Darren Elkins?
Yeah, Darren Elkins wasn't one of the coaches that helped out on the Ultimate Fighter, so I didn't get to interact with him specifically, but I interacted with guys like Andre Feely, Uriah Faber, TJ Dillashaw, and all the other guys there. Josh Emmett even was our strength and conditioning coach on that season. But I mean, we're talking about 8.5, 9 years ago. I mean, it was a long time ago. That was Ultimate Fighter, and we're completely different fighters now. I mean, even from my last fight, there's things that can be different. So, I mean, it's been such a long time since the Ultimate Fighter. It'd be hard for them to try to pin something down. I remember going back and watching some of those Ultimate Fighter fights that I had, and I'm like, man, I had such a crazy just random style. I've really kind of worked on a lot of details, and I'm a completely different mixed martial artist than I was back then. Um, but I still have some of those strengths. So there are some things they can, obviously be aware of. Um, Sorry about that. But I think it's just too long ago for them to really nail certain things down.
I think you're right. I think you're right, especially because you guys have evolved a lot. Maybe I meant more from the mental side, I guess, like, hey, this dude ain't breaking, or this dude's this
Yeah.
way, or this dude's that way. But it was such a long time ago. And I guess I had one more curiosity to that season. When that big fight kind of almost broke out, what were you thinking? Were you thinking like, man, I'm on a reality show. I really don't want to mix it up, or did you want to mix it up?
um, Yeah. When they were when all the coaches were kind of getting into it, and both sides were kind of going back and forth. I had just made weight, so you can see me in the background. I'm like eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or something, and I'm kind of just like more stunned that it was even going on. And I wasn't really. I mean, obviously, like I was just more focused on hydrating and eating food and stuff. So I didn't even. I had no idea even what was going on, or even what the European side was saying because their accents were so thick that you couldn't really figure. Like I couldn't navigate what they were saying half the time, and then obviously, people broke it down, and that David Tamer kid was saying something like, "You better
Keep your
wash your
underwear
underwear"
on.
or something. I can't
Yeah.
remember exactly what it was, but it went viral and it was hilarious. But at the time, I had no idea what anybody said, so it was like just kind of like it got diffused. Everybody kind of went their own ways, and a little bit of the weird spot for me was so I just got done making weight on the American side, and then they drove or all the Americans were going to train right after weigh-ins, but they drove me home because I was fighting the next day. So they drove me back to the house with all the Europeans. So I get to the house, and it's just me and all the Europeans after this big fight kind of broke out. And I'm like, man, I have no idea what was going on, but like I didn't want to make. I wanted to make sure that they weren't upset with me because I didn't. I mean, I wasn't really participating in any kind of trash talking back and forth in that scenario, so I wasn't necessarily too worried about it. But I was like, now I have to be in this house with these guys for a few hours, and the temperature was pretty high in the room already. So I was just hoping to, and I just made weight, so I was just trying to focus on rehydrating and getting ready for my fight the next day. But yeah, it was a bit bizarre.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. I can't believe you remembered that, and I can't believe I remembered it. It's just recently I had seen it again. I was like, oh, that's right. That guy tried to convey some smack talk or some sort of a threat, and I think he said, "You better keep your underwear on" or something like that. And
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
"Oh man, that." I know he's hoping that's a deleted scene because that didn't come off too well.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
hey, along the way, I've noticed you've really fought a lot of hype trains. Here's what I mean by that: like fighters that were either getting ready to take that next step, or maybe were highly thought of, or they're coming off a big win, like Hakeem Dawodu, Charles Jourdain, Sean Woodson. He's got this huge frame. Obviously that can be a handful. Nate Landwehr is a talker.
Yep,
Um, that's pretty cool. Even C-Rod's kind of been
yep,
derailing hype trains, but you're the one that took him out. How
yep.
fun's that been? I guess it seems like you're always going to be have doubters, but you keep proving everyone wrong for against different opponents that have certain hype trains.
Yeah, I think one of my skill sets is that I kind of rise to the occasion, or I rise to the skill sets of my opponents. Like some people think that I'll be an underdog in a fight, but when it comes to the fight, it's more even than they had expected, and I beat some of these guys. The downfall of that is that sometimes I lower my standards to guys that aren't so good. Like, and I want to say not so good, but just like I fought a lot of really good guys and beat a lot of really good guys, but I had a barn burner with Steven Peterson, and technically speaking, I don't think Steven Peterson was all that great. He was a decent fighter in his own right, but he was a real tough guy. He's pretty similar to like a Darren Elkins. But technically speaking, I thought I was, a bit better than him in every aspect of fighting. But we had a really close fight. I beat him by split decision. And then I go out there and I submit Sean Woodson, submit Jourdain, knockout Nate Landwehr, and beat Hakeem Dawodu decisively, 3 rounds to none. And so sometimes if you fall into leveling up or leveling down with your opponent, it can be advantageous, or it can be negative as well. So for me, instead of trying to do that, I just want to try to perform to my best ability instead of trying to adjust to my opponent.
Julian, how often do you think about the bonuses? Because it's life-changing money.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest, when I heard your matchup, I thought, uh-oh, this has got bonus written all over it. But then when you think about the card and how big it is and the good fighters on there, it might be a tough time trying to get a bonus that night. How often do you ever think about that type of stuff?
When I first got into the UFC, and you're making, when I first got signed to the UFC a long time ago, it was 10-10, but then you're thinking $50,000 bonus, so you're like, holy shit, like that's you know, 5 times as much as I would make, compared to my win money, and so I was thinking about it quite a bit, especially coming off in the regional scene. I was doing really well. I was knocking a lot of people out, and I was submitting a lot of people, and I was having exciting fights. So I was like, my style is tailor made to get bonuses. So all I gotta do is just do what I'm doing on the regional show in the UFC. And I think what happened was, sometimes when you're thinking about other things like external variables, like bonuses that you have no control over, it can kind of get in the way of what you're focused on. And so for me, early on, it was a detriment to my to me winning fights, because first you got to win a fight. You got to win a fight, and then if you get a bonus, it's a cherry on top. Don't think about it the other way. Don't always be striving for bonuses, because I mean, I did a jumping knee, knocked out Nate Landwehr, didn't get a bonus. I did a Darce choke on Charles Jourdain, didn't get a bonus. Two guillotines in my last 2 fights, no bonuses. And so I've been lucky that I got a double bonus against Peterson, and I got a bonus against Sean Woodson as well. But so like for me, I've just gotten past it. Like if I get a bonus, that's the cherry on top. I just want to go in there and win my fight, focus on that, and if you can get something extra, that's great. But don't bank on it, and especially with this Miami card. I mean, there's some times where you just gotta like relinquish the fact that you might get a bonus. Like I fought on the same card as the main event was Dustin Poirier versus Dan Hooker, and I already knew leading into that fight of the night is already given up. Like those guys are getting it. Don't even bank on it. Don't even think about it. It doesn't matter how good your fight is. Those guys are gonna have a 5-round barn burner, and so even if you have a 3-round one, they're gonna have 2 more rounds of it. So just throw that idea out the window. And so I stopped thinking about bonuses. If it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, I'm just focused on winning my fight.
Julian, earlier George talked about, possibly importing some people to help out for Darren's style. But I started to think about something, and I know you guys are all very well prepared, and you've already been through the gamut with a lot of different opponents. But what about cardio? Is there a little bit of you that says, dude, this guy just does not stop? Maybe I need to even up my cardio more than what I normally do because of this cat.
Oh, I mean, for sure. Like Darren Elkins is probably the easiest guy to get ready for in the sense of technical skill. You know what he's going to do. He's going to come in, he's going to jab a couple of times, put his head off to the side, and then he's going to shoot with his head on your right side hip. And he's going to drive through. And if he doesn't get it the first time, he's going to do the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth time. He's going to be on you, like a dog. So for me, it's easy to prepare for that, technically. But what beats people is they overexert themselves in certain situations. TJ Brown's a good example of that. He was just like TJ Brown picked him up, put him down, and did things in spots where he just was using explosive energy. I'm not one of those guys. I don't use explosive energy. I'm similar to Darren Elkins in the sense of cardio, and so I always work my cardio. That's something I pride myself on, because that's the one thing you can really control. I mean, you can train everything else, but you don't know if your jiu-jitsu is going to be better than that guy's jiu-jitsu until you're in there with him. But one thing you can control 100% is your cardio and your work ethic you have leading into a fight. And so for me, I've always just dedicated so much time and effort into my conditioning. And I'm a big guy too, so like being a big guy at featherweight, I have to do those kind of things to get my weight down. So I'm pretty confident that my cardio is going to hold up against a guy like Darren Elkins. My game plan in my mind, this entire fight camp, is that I wanted to work my cardio so much that I made Darren Elkins look like he had no cardio. But you never know. We're gonna get in there, and he's gonna be a dog, but so am I, and I think that's gonna be the troublesome part for him as well.
Are you a horror fan by any chance? Movies?
Not necessarily, only because my wife doesn't like to watch that kind of stuff. So
Mm.
I've become, a non-horror fan due to my wife not liking that kind of stuff.
Let me tell you a little bit about a horror movie I once saw during a fight. Okay. During a fight, I'm gonna have to go back and figure out who it was, but they were fighting Darren Elkins, and they kind of give the view from the corner, and you
Yeah.
could see across the corner and where Darren's at and his cornerman, and behind his cornerman's back, you just kind of see his head pop out, and he's got this big gash on his forehead. And I remember thinking that's one of the scariest things I've ever seen. Do you ever, from your stool, obviously your corner's giving you instruction, but do you ever kind of peep over and just see what's he doing? What's he look like? Do you ever do that at all? Do you have any stories about that?
Sometimes, I always like to just kind of gauge where they're at, especially like right after the round's over and they're walking back to the stool. What kind of physical signs are they showing? Are they showing that they're tired? Uh, what's going on? But I mean, obviously, uh, as the cornerman that you have, like we have a guy designated in our corners that always are going to take a look over there and try to calculate what's going on over there. So you're more that way. You're not wasting your time, peeking over. You can focus on instruction, what you need to do for the next round, but at the same time, someone else is looking and then relaying the information as well. So uh, it's a bit more convenient now and just more organized. But before, I remember in the regional scene, I used to do that all the time. I used to really, I mean, sometimes I wouldn't even be listening to my cornerman. I'd just be looking over at the guy because I wanted to make sure he saw me looking at him like that I'm ready for the next round and that I'm, like nothing's bothering me. I'm ready to come out. So if you had any doubt in your mind in between rounds, I just want to solidify that even more. But nowadays, I mean, especially in the UFC, you're not going to really intimidate people, I don't think, in that kind of sense.
I want to go back to something you said, the performance bonuses. You definitely deserve more than you've gotten. Is there any way to
Thank you.
campaign for those? Like, you're a Vegas guy. I'm sure you
Yeah.
step into the PI, just like, hey guys, what do I need to do? Because again, your fights are always fun, man. No matter what, you even hear it in the announcers, like, buckle up,
Yeah.
this is gonna be a good one, like that
Yeah.
type of thing. How can I don't know, like I
I
don't know.
mean, the thing with the bonuses is it's it's a little bit more political in a sense. If you're a favorite, if you're a UFC favorite, if they like you, yeah, I think you're a little more apt to get bonuses to a certain degree. Obviously, uh, the the hard thing is that they only give out four bonuses. They usually do a fight of the night and then performance bonuses, or they'll do four performance bonuses. So only four people are going to get them. So sometimes the card is just freaking on fire, and like every single fight's insane. It's like some guys are. It's just luck of the draw at that point. It's like you hope. Like I honestly like to fight on fight nights because there's less fighters, less star power on those fights, and a higher ability to get bonuses. But at the same time, being on some of these big cards is just it's super fun to experience that as well. But for me, it's like I said, beggars can't be choosers, and I'm gonna just focus on my fight. And if I get the bonus, I get it. In my mind, I think the UFC would be good to have like a show money, win money, and then a finish bonus. So like, let's say you get like you're starting out 12-12 as a UFC debut. If you get a finish, they'll just add another 12 to you, and then obviously maybe just cap it at that $50,000. But I think if they did that, you would see a lot of guys really going for finishes because if they know that the money's there, they're going to go for it. I mean, I go for it just because that's my style, but I know a lot of guys that are just trying to eke out wins because they want to get that second paycheck. But if there was a finish bonus, guarantee you there'd be more finishes.
Update me now. Like, part of your contract is you and one cornerman fly for free and get a hotel, or is it up to two cornermen?
No, they fly all three cornermen out. They only
Okay.
give us one hotel room, so I always end up covering another hotel room just because I want to make it comfortable. Like me and three other men, while I'm cutting weight in a room with two beds, and that's not going to cut it. So I always get another room so they can have their own room, and then also I'm going to cut weight in one of the rooms, and so it's going to be muggy in there, stinky, and all the above. So like we always want to have another room for those guys because I mean I've been with the guys in one hotel room before, and it's just uncomfortable, man. Especially on the regional show, they only give you one hotel as well. So like you got a bunch of dudes piling, in one room, and it just gets to obviously everybody's kind of on top of each other, and the privacy is not there. So, but I mean that's just a small price to pay, for comfort. I want to have that during fight week, so I make it happen. But some guys don't. I don't know.
You just said it right there. On the regional scene, they give a room. I think the UFC needs to up their game and
Yeah,
give you at least that second room,
for
maybe
sure.
even a third, because they block off a certain amount of rooms
Yeah.
for them. Like I bet you Sean Shelby and Mick Maynard don't share a room. You know what I'm
No, for
saying?
sure.
So they got their own room.
Yeah.
So I'm glad
I
that they covered
I
you and 3 cornermen
yeah.
to fight. You said you and 3 cornermen, right?
Yeah. They cover me 3 cornermen, and then if you're like a main event or a title fight, I think you get 4 cornermen, so they'll cover that as well. And then also, it's all contractual too. Um, just a normal contract is that they only give you one room, but if you like if you're a champ or if you're like a guy who's like controlling your contracts with the UFC, like obviously me, my management does my contractual stuff, but they ask me, here's your new contract, are you cool with this? You think I'm gonna say no? I'm not cool with this. Like me again. Like there's 1,000 kids behind me that are willing to take my spot. So, I'm gonna do what the UFC wants, and I've always been a company man in this, and so I'm never gonna complain, and I'm always gonna, do what they want me to do, and take what I'm given, and not complain about it. I mean, there's no reason to do that. They pay me well. They do, they hook me up when I go out. I mean, I got to pay for an extra room every once in a while. That's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. All right. Well, as long as you're cool, then that's fine.
Yeah.
I just always try and go to bat for you guys.
No, for sure,
Think
100%.
one
And
day,
I do think that I mean, to make it comfortable, it would be nice to have two rooms for sure. And I had no idea because I fought the Apex for a while on my third stint in the UFC, so I was just at home all the time. And then we went on the road for Colorado, uh, my last fight against C Rod, and they only had one room for me, and I was like kind of shocked. I was like, "Oh, I thought we got 2 rooms," because I hadn't been on the road for, can't even remember how long it had been to be on the road with the UFC, and so uh they because all my other fights have been in Vegas. Even the pay-per-view I was on against Hakeem Dawodu, I was in Vegas, so I was able to stay at home. And I totally forgot about that. And so being on the road, I was I was welcomed with one room, and I was like, oh man, well that kind of sucks. So I ended up buying a room, but the way they pay me and the way they set me up and the opponents they give me, I'm more than blessed with the UFC. So I appreciate their work.
who's your corner for this one?
I have Eric Nixick, Eddie Baracco, and my buddy Adam Frank. They were all 3 in the one in Colorado, my last fight, and then same with against Ramos. But Eric was gone. Eric was cornering a guy in Ireland at the same time, so we kind of had to make it work. And so he was supposed to be my corner on that fight, but he wasn't able to make it.
Okay.
But Eric's all over the place. Eric has lots of guys, and so he's got fights all over the place.
Yeah, for sure. One of the best in the business, though. But
Yes, sir.
Eddie's knows the game well as well.
Yeah, of
You're in good hands. All right. Well, thanks for the time today. I hope you
course.
have a great camp, whatever's left. What, 3 weeks or so, and then off
Yes,
to
sir.
Miami. Do your thing against Darren Elkins. It's going to be a gritty one, man. But if you can get your
Oh
hand
yeah.
raised, it's going to have a good pop because Elkins is still well respected. A win over him, it doesn't come easy. So
Yes.
hopefully you get yourself a bonus or something like that, especially if you can get. All right, my
Thank
man.
you
Take
so
care.
much, guys. I really appreciate your time as well.
All right, we'll see
Thank
you.